What is so critical about these in-between tween years?
There's so much going on here. This is such an awkward time. This is where it gets hard, especially in the teen years, because they are going to not just have the impulse to want to do high-risk behaviors, they're going to do them.
I want to keep them young. I don't want to expose them to something too soon.
We want to protect our kids, and I really understand that. If you're not teaching your kids, somebody else is.
Hey, I'm Ann.
And I'm Kate. Welcome to a new episode of the Sage Sisters podcast. We got a good one for you today.
We say that sometimes, but this time we really mean it, people. This is not just Kate and I chit-chatting. We have a fantastic guest on today, and we will introduce her in a big way. But Dr. Sheryl Ziegler from Good Inside is here, and she's an expert on mental health, puberty, the tween years, and I'm just so excited to have this conversation and share it with you. So
yeah. An expert at exactly the age that we specialize in, that in between. So pumped. It will be a good one. But before we get there, what's your high?
My high is that we had a weekend where my mother-in-law came into town and the kids, she's wonderful. She's so lovely. And
she's lovely.
She's just easy. I got so lucky.
I'm kind of curious. What do you think the percent of people that say their mother-in-law is lovely, like, and mean it?
Okay, so about a year ago, we did a podcast where I looked this statistic up, and it was very...
I love how I have no original thoughts.
It was a long time ago, though, and so I might get it slightly off, but it was very high. It was like 68% of people say that they have a issue with their in-laws. That is so high. I remember being kind of blown away by that, but
7 out of 10
by that.
I think
number.
It's believable. I think it's believable.
So I just feel very blessed. She's wonderful. And
hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed. And the kids, like, just anytime they get one-on-one time with her is just awesome.
There's a distinction with in-laws too. There's like, I like them. And then the next level is, and they're helpful.
Yeah, right. And then when you get the combination of both, it's like,
yeah,
epic.
Yeah.
Well, we just had the best weekend, and Ace had, I know I talk a lot about his golf, but this was kind of the close championship of the season. So we'll taper off a little bit, I'm sure. But
how'd he do?
He didn't do great. And the positive here is that I was so proud of him. From the beginning of the season to now, his growth to have positive self-talk and stay positive in a game that is a game of mistakes, like you make a lot of mistakes, even if you're playing a good day. And at the beginning,
I never thought about that. You're right. Golf is literally just like, how much worse are you than par?
100%. And he is an excellent golfer at a young age, and he loves it. And he has been working so hard, and he made it to, they invite 15 of the top kids in Tennessee to play in this championship. So he made it to the championship. And he just didn't perform like he usually does. He was kind of middle of the pack. And quite frankly, some of the leaders are people that he's beat in other tournaments. So like, he just...
Spoken like a real mother.
I know, but he has struggled with staying positive in those moments. And it was a lot of golf. We had 18 on Saturday, 18 on Sunday, and there was there was a 9-hole practice round on Friday. And so he just had to stay in it. And stay in it. And when I mean stay in it, that's a lot of golf after you've started to kind of have a bad day. And he came back the next day and was super positive and was basically like, today I'm just going to be focused on getting a better score than yesterday and staying positive. And to hear him say that, I can't tell you the stark difference from when we started the season, Yeah. So I
he's got a little of my hot-headedness, but it's like, I've been known to throw a tennis racket from time to time.
Yeah, exactly. Snapped your tennis racket in half not long ago.
I'm still embarrassed by that. I'm still embarrassed.
I love how you say still embarrassed. It was like a couple months ago.
It was totally last year. And that was before the evolution of Kate 2.0.
Yeah.
That was old Kate.
You're right. Well, anyways, I just really loved to see him get through that. And his there is a coach that he's seen before that coaches a couple kids in the area, and he was there, and he said to me, which I really appreciated, he was like, we were just talking about the day and the game and all that stuff, and he said, it's great to have adversity. He hasn't had adversity yet because he's been winning a lot, and so at a young age, if you ask any college coach of a golf team, they say they would prefer a kid who had adversity early on and then really like strengthen the game and like 13, 14 years old on their team versus someone who had a lot of success early on and never had adversity, because the game of golf is so about the mental aspect of it.
Totally. I believe that at my core.
And it just stuck with me. I really appreciated that conversation with him, but I was like, you're right.
You know what I'll say, Ann, though, too? Like, just as a little bit of perspective, a lot of parents with kids our age, the kids don't give effort or they're not competitive. And, you know, who cares? Not everybody has to be competitive. But like, that is never Ace's problem.
No.
He was just like too much. And now you're watching him mature and be able to like sort of stay positive when things aren't going well. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a huge success. So I say a very big high, even though we wish the outcome would be different for him. Like I could care less, but for him. But like what I saw this weekend was such growth, it just made me kind of tear up. So I was
totally
very happy for
good
the little
job,
guy.
Ace, man.
Yeah,
I agree. That's amazing.
What's your high over there?
Well, I put together a great weekend, but highlighted by the fact that I left my kids' swim meet in the middle, dumped them, and went to Healdsburg with some girlfriends for an overnight.
What? How did I miss this? I did not know you were doing that. You know, Healdsburg's like my favorite place.
Well, I remembered why. What a treat of a little downtown. I was thinking of you because the food and wine scene was just like so good. Have you ever been to Park 106? It's a rooftop kind of foodie place.
I think so.
In the Matheson Hotel?
Yes,
A+.
Yeah.
It feels like a place that would be right up your alley. Anyways, A+.
Girls weekend, food, wine. I'm doing the wave it in sign.
Here's how I do. We did a great lunch, took a break, did a swim at our nice Airbnb, and then went back out for another meal. It's like, this is the way I'd like it. This is the way I like it.
Yeah. Oh, I love
And the
that.
dinner spot. I'm going to like, next time you guys come out here or the parents, there was this German spot we went to. Phenomenal. And I feel like no one says phenomenal German food. It's a little bit like that's a Venn diagram it doesn't touch in the middle.
I just think bratwurst and sauerkraut, and I'm not thinking phenom.
That was part of it, but they had this like charcuterie that was like lean German.
Oh, okay.
And there was like duck leg, veal cutlet, like 2 sausages. One was a brat, but this brat was like next level. They had all the good mustards.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then some different spatzels on the side. Anyways,
sounds great.
Phenomenal.
Oh,
so
I love that.
I mean, all the food was great, but like we're gonna go back. Especially we have German heritage. I was just thinking, our family would love this.
Listen,
we sat in a cute little beer garden.
Oh my gosh, heaven! I try to be as healthy as I can, which is not 100%, right? I'm just bad. You know, we always talk about this on the podcast. But I love food. And there is no better experience to me than going to a nice restaurant with friends or family and having that like wine and dine. There's something so magical about it. Good for you.
Well, it was magical to the point where I couldn't stop eating. You know how you just kind of get into the vibe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I've recommitted to eating less sausage because the sausage just in my stomach just do not agree. So I was like, everything would have been fine had I stopped before that kielbasa or whatever, that very rich, spicy sausage that I ate.
No. And then I'm just not the type that can be like, let me just have one bite of that delicious. No, it's got to be.
I was with a lot of women who were just like, they didn't have my appetite. So there was just a lot left. And I was like, we can't leave this delicious food. All right. Roll up my sleeves. I'll take one for the team.
One sip of alcohol, then I forget everything. It's like my mind goes back to like, you can eat it all.
Oh my goodness. I kind of lost my mind at the German restaurant.
There is no limit.
There is. The limit does not exist. The limit did exist, I found out. But anyways, great weekend trip. And then came back. It was aggressive because Grace had her 10th birthday party yesterday.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
And I was a little bit like, Kate, you've done it again here. You went from a trip into a birthday party.
Too much in your schedule per the usual. But how did it go? How did you pull it off?
Extremely successfully, if I do say so myself. You know, I call them Indiana birthdays.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
had a whole podcast on Indiana birthdays before.
Well,
but
let me just refresh.
Yeah.
I want to remind everyone how
we have a lot of new listeners too. That again was like another year, at least a year ago.
Okay. Ann and I grew up in Southern Indiana, and the birthday parties of our youth were simple. Okay. But now I live in the Bay Area, and the kind of baseline for a birthday party is, in my opinion, too high. It's
ridiculous. There's nothing that makes me more angry than talking about some of these birthday extravaganzas.
Well, they're very, they're high budget, and we got a magician and a food truck. It's like,
and if you don't have a petting zoo, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. If you don't have a balloon arch with the good ones, the like round, cute ones,
totally,
like you're out of here. So, anyways, I'm not much of like that kind of mom. That's not my specialty. And listen, I don't want to yucky yum. If you love that, you do you. But I just don't like that the expectation is so high.
Yeah, right.
So I have created a culture of what I call Indiana birthdays. And by that, I mean low budget, low effort.
How we grew up. Yeah.
But Grace is very creative, and she had a tight vision. This is my daughter to a T, but like her vision was so tight that out of 10,000 card templates, none of them would work. We had to customize the card template because she wanted an I Heart NY theme party, which is cute. We're going to New York in a couple weeks.
Love it.
She requested, a little heavy-handed, that everyone wear red and black. It was like
I love that she's already doing a dress attire for her party. That's hysterical.
Yeah. Love and it. She had a lot of thoughts on the food.
Which
I did appreciate. It was basically carbs from top to bottom. So we had New York pizza.
I was going to say, if you don't have New York pizza, get out of here. Okay, good.
We had bagel bar.
Yeah.
Great. New York bagel.
Yeah.
And then the real star of the show was the pretzels. I maybe should have seen this coming. I had 24 pretzels for 9 girls. It wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I was like, geez.
You're talking about the big giant pretzels?
The only ones I could find were at like the grocery store, and they weren't like those huge ones.
Yeah.
But they were like maybe this big. But
okay.
They had that same taste. They were fire, first of all. I was like, and Chris made a Velveeta cheese sauce for
get out of here. I love a cheese dip.
It was so good.
Yeah.
And then the desserts, my daughter loves baking. So she was very excited to make the desserts. So last week, one day we made black and white cookies, which were cute. And then the other day we made cake pops. Cake pops are tricky.
They're not easy. I was just going to ask how that went.
We had a cake pop maker that the neighbor gave us, which was so thoughtful. And making the cake balls was a piece of cake in this thing. Literally, it was like a waffle. You kind of spray it, you pour the batter in, they come out great. So cake balls, easy peasy. The tricky part is the icing.
Yeah. And they make it look so easy on the internet.
You just stick in the little thing and you just dip it and it's perfect. It's like, perfect. What is the consistency? Yeah. Okay. So I was talking, one of the women at my weekend is a very good baker. And I go, WTF on these cake pops? She goes, you have to have a candy melter. It's an appliance that keeps the melts at the perfect temperature.
Okay.
Because the second it gets too hot or too cold, the consistency is off. And I was like, okay, that's what was happening. Anyways, we put together, I'll take a picture. It was the jankiest cake pops you've ever seen. They were supposed to be little apples. Grace, big apple.
Oh,
she had a
cute
theme.
Yeah, that's hard. Okay, first of all, that's a hard thing to pull off too. I love that you went there as a non-baker.
She was disappointed.
Yeah.
She was disappointed with the outcome. And I was like, sweetheart, this is where my skill level is, With a different mom, you could have had a different outcome.
All right. Give me a picture of those. We'll put it on a story or something. The people got to see your bad apple
world's
cake pops.
Jankiest. I took a picture for myself to laugh at later. They were so bad. But we didn't have the cake we didn't have the melter pot. And so we did the best we could, people. But the point was, it was perfect. Janky cake pops, somewhat janky black and white cookies.
I'm sure they tasted fabulous, though. They just looked funny. Yeah.
Okay. And here's the highlight. Last week, I called my niece for her birthday, and I was talking to our older sister and her husband. And I was telling them about this party. And she goes, you got to have Chris dress up as a Statue of Liberty. And I was like, or actually our brother-in-law said it, I believe. And I was like, that is genius. Because Grace is at this new age where things embarrass her. We embarrass her. Like even at the swim meet, Chris took off his shirt. And
hard turn.
He had a neon tank top, and she was a neon tank top at the swim meet. Appalling.
Yeah.
But what was more appalling was when we surprised her when he came out in a Statue of Liberty costume to deliver the birthday cookie with the candles.
My gosh. And he's obviously 6'8". That's hilarious. He was probably
it was funny. I had to buy a bed sheet because it's all women's costumes and none of them were gonna fit his big ass. So I was
that's funny.
So I got the headband and the torch, and then I bought a sheet that was I thought the highlight of the weekend.
That's amazing.
I'll send you a picture where she just wants to die.
You got to
But everyone thought it was funny. She came around quickly, which was like, okay, good sport.
And I'm sure they loved the cake pops and everything too. It didn't care what they look like.
They had a blast. So the other thing that was so cute was we had this area. It was basically a pool party. That was it. But we had an area.
You keep running it back. Same pool party, different theme.
Totally. It's like you buy I probably spent $50 on stuff, which was basically like a banner, some New York themed plates, and a little bit of decor. Yeah. You know? And then we got the pizza and bagels at Costco. So it was like we probably spent $100 on this party.
Amazing.
Total.
I love that.
Which is like real different than how most of these parties go.
Mm-hmm.
They had a freaking blast. Also, we had this vision. Her vision was like an area to do karaoke Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And we put on the Spotify Kid Broadway sing-along list. And we had set out some accessories like a Michael Jackson hat and like some of the like kind of Broadway-ish black accessories that we thought they could put on while they did this karaoke. But what happened was they immediately went up to the playroom and got all the costumes. We have like these huge costume boxes.
Okay.
And they were wearing the silliest stuff. They were having the best time. Each one was crazier than I'll send you some pictures. But I just I was thinking, how many years left do we have where they're this goofy?
Well, you're reminded how young they are.
I know.
You know, she's beautiful. Embarrassed of Chris in a tank top, but you probably were too. And then,
yeah.
But then yet they're still very young.
I want to be clear. You can wear tank tops, but he has one that's flesh colored. I'm talking nude that matches his skin. And that's the one that I want to dye.
I've seen it.
Please don't. Ick.
Well, I love that. Nothing makes me happier than, you know, keep them young. It just, so
it was sweet. It was like the party felt young. Mm-hmm. The birthday party cost me $100 and I thought they had a 10 out of 10 time. Now, afterwards, I had to like decompress and sit in a dark corner because just the noise level for 3 hours was
even if it's
really
a small
high.
Party, it's just there is a lot of
squealing, you know? A bunch of 10-year-old girls. There's a pitch that they can hit that's like almost like a dog whistle.
I bet I would have probably been fine because I probably wouldn't have even noticed. The amount of noise that goes on in my house versus your house, we joke about it all the time. I have a higher tolerance for that.
Well, they were doing karaoke in crazy costumes. But I will say, once they went outside to the pool, I kind of sat in a corner for a little bit and I was like, whoa. But it was great. And also, you know, her birthday's Wednesday, but like to get that party behind you.
Yeah.
And have it be so good.
Love that.
Great. It was great. I'll send you the picture of Chris though. I was dying.
I guess I can't wait. I'll have to get his sign off, but I got to post that too if he'll let us.
The other highlight I just have to mention, but she really wanted the fake nails. You know, they're very into this.
Yes.
And
my daughter Lo she keeps asking for it too, but
she's
a little younger. And
our older sister got her just the cheap stick-ons, which I was like, that's how much I want to invest in this.
But they don't stick on. They don't stay on.
They don't stay on that well. But Chris, while I was in Healdsburg, glued on her nails. And I just thought, like, what a sweet girl dad.
That's really sweet.
Where he's trying to get the glue and get her nails on just right.
I wonder how many nails he actually glued to himself, you know, because that glue is hard to use. And it's
when you glue your fingers together.
Yeah, exactly. He had some mistakes, I'm sure of it.
I'll follow up. But anyways, just a great weekend.
I love that.
What's your low?
I don't want to be too much of a Debbie over here.
Just bring it. Quick caveat in your lows. You're allowed to have a low.
I know, but I have been like, it's hormones. But a couple days out of the month, I am feeling a little low. And I don't usually feel like this, but I've noticed over the last couple months, and we talk about it a lot. I'm 41. It's happening. Hormones are changing. But I just feel like I sit with sadness a little bit more. Like things affect me a little bit more.
But you're saying sad. It's presenting differently over
here.
It
can present itself in different ways. I'm sure we'll learn as we talk to an expert later.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be like, you can oscillate between deep depression and raging bitch in a matter of 20 seconds.
Look, and I take depression very seriously. That it is not depression, but it is just feelings of sadness or something hits me harder. Like a story that I'll hear that maybe would bounce off a little bit easier or whatever. It doesn't affect my day-to-day life. It just is sitting with me a little longer. And I don't like that.
Well, the ebb and flow is normal.
Yeah.
You know? Sometimes a news story, there's just a lot happening in the world. And every once in a while, I'll kind of sit with what's happening in different places. And, it's like there is some real darkness out there. And I think burying your head in the sand isn't always the way. Also, like focusing exclusively on that,
right,
where you can't live your life is too much.
It's
like,
too much,
but taking in a little,
Mm-hmm.
so it's human. It's good.
Yeah. So I feel like
what do you do when you're feeling low? Like, what's your coping?
I don't really have like a process, like we've talked about with anxiety.
What's your Bravo consumption on these days?
Listen, I gotta say, I started the show, the 5-Star Weekend.
Oh, good. I was hoping you would watch
Jennifer Gardner.
And
I'm really into it. But because I had some of these feelings of low, that show was making me bawl my eyes out. Every single thing that it's pretty baseline. It's a great show. But, the husband passes away. And
okay, well, then don't watch Voicemails for Isabel when you're feeling low.
Yeah, I'll snap out of it before I watch that. But I feel like it's been making me more emotional. Like, I feel like I'm bawling my eyes out over a show. But I guess it's getting some of that out of there.
Well, there are some serious sad themes in there. I mean, her husband dies within the first 5 minutes. So that's not even a spoiler. It's part of the...
Yeah, I just said that. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm working on my active listening. Do not watch Voicemails for Isabel when you're in that headspace.
Yeah, I'll get out.
I mean, that one, part of it is her sister passes away. And then it keeps revisiting how special their relationship is.
Yeah, I mean, I can't sit with that right now. Yeah, I can't sit with that.
But the rom-com side of it is so good. It's like actually worth a watch.
Yeah.
But you will I haven't sobbed like I have on that movie.
Okay, I'll sit with that. I won't watch that for another week. And like I said, this is temporary. And what helps me the most is this, like talking about it or telling somebody I'm not feeling my best today and this is why. I think just being able to speak to somebody about it in a casual way, I don't need to unload. I'm just, that's it. That's all I needed to say. But I think that helps.
Good. Well, I think everything's going to be okay.
I just needed to hear that in that tone of voice. All right,
over there, I'd give you an arm tickle.
Oh, I love that. What's your low?
What did I have? Oh, your damn cold is still persisting over here.
Listen, I repeat, patient 0 was Lily, my 4-year-old. You can't get mad at Lily. She's too darn cute. So when you think about patient 0, you think about Lily.
Are you fully healed now? Because
I actually think the last 24 hours I've healed. I still have a little bit of carryover. It's been forever. It's been forever.
And I'll almost be over it. I'll be I think I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I'll wake up the next day with that very obvious sore throat. Or
that's long gone. The puffy eyes are long gone. What's remaining is a dry nose.
I look like trash today.
No, I meant for me. Those are gone now. I did have it. No, yours are
very present.
You got about another week. When I can watch Voicemails for Isabel, you'll stop having puffy eyes.
Oh my gosh. I need to do that full, even the ice rollers, girl, do more. You need a full face plunge is what I need. I had a drippy nose all weekend. I was like,
oh, it's the worst. I'm so sorry we passed that to you. And you have about another 6 days and then you'll be fine.
Great. Also, I just had this feeling, maybe because this is the last week of swim, which is such our summer thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm oh no, summer's actually kind of almost over. I kind of had this little bit of panic where I'm
that was part of my low. That was part of my
I'm not ready
feelings.
For summer to be over.
Yes. And in some
years,
ways,
I'm I cannot wait for school.
Yeah. In some ways, it will be nice to have a schedule again. But I am feeling a little sadness with the end of summer coming up. I don't feel like we've done enough with the kids. And I mean, we've done a ton, but you know what I mean? I'm having that feeling.
You need to cool that, but I just want it to last longer.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I bought Cal a backpack. It's back to school's here.
I have the cutest backpack for Lila's birthday that I got her. I'm so excited. It's just flowers and girly, but it's got roses, and her middle name is Rose, after Roseanne, my mother-in-law. And she's going to love it. She's obsessed with all things roses now.
Yeah, cute. I bought Cal, of course, a Nike. Couldn't be more.
Yeah. Center of the fairway.
Well, and then I was asking him, I was oh, this green color or this blue color could be kind of fun. He was like, I really want gray. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, all right, gray it is. So he's like, but he's excited. This kid is so functionally focused. He only wanted to look at pockets, zippers, and if it could go on a suitcase.
I love that. I love him
I'm
so much.
just like, I am literally, I birthed my husband in another creature. But he was like, tell me about the functionality. I'm like, but look how cute it is.
Yeah.
He was like, I could care less. Gray, but tell me about the functionality.
And me and like Lola in particular, it's like, just got to be pretty. It's got to look good. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Well,
I wanted to share a really sweet Everything's Not Awful this week.
Okay, let's hear it.
You know, we've had basically it's been a sports highlight reel for months. So
well, in our defense, the World Cup has been on and there's been some great stories about that.
Totally.
But let's move on. We're time to
so
move
I just
on.
wanted to veer us a little bit back towards just humans being kind.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I love it when a kid's kind. And this story kind of stopped me in my tracks. But there was a 14-year-old, we'll link the story, in Arizona. And there was an elderly woman who has dementia, was at the grocery store, got disoriented, and started walking outside in the heat, sort of like pretty far away from the grocery store. And this kid on the bike kind of noticed that she seemed a bit disoriented. A 14-year-old boy stops, gets her into the shade, gives her his water, calls both like emergency and like sits with her. I think it took a minute and like sat with her long enough for her to kind of come to and like remember her son's phone number.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like,
for
what
him
a sweet boy.
Yeah, to notice and take the time and then do something.
Not only did he do all the right things, but it's like to just stop on your bike and ask an older lady if she's okay. What a sweetheart.
Man, I know we just said how emotional I am, but that's a really, that's getting me. I love that.
All right. Well, let's get to our guest because we got a great one. So without further ado, we are so excited for our guest today. Dr. Sheryl Ziegler is with us. She's a clinical psychologist, and we're lucky because she specializes in the exact age that many of you are in, which is the in-between years, the tween, you know, call it 8 to 12. She has an amazing book called The Crucial Years that came out last year that really is all about modern middle childhood. So she's got a lot of great insights from that. She also is Dr. Becky's right-hand lady over at Good Inside on the tween and teen space. She runs a great podcast called The In-Between Years and also just puts out, like, we get so much advice from just following you on social over at Good Inside and directly. So you're just a wealth of knowledge for the in-between years, which is our specialty. So welcome to the Sage Sisters podcast, Dr. Sheryl. Woo!
Woo! Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, let's just kind of kick it off. Like, what is so critical about these in-between tween years?
Yes. So it's really interesting. Like, you use the proper term, like middle childhood, and we don't talk about middle childhood that much, right? If you look at the literature, there's tons about infants, and then we go to toddlers, and then we have the preschool years, and then it's sort of quiet, and then we're like, oh, and then we have adolescence. And it's like, but what actually happens in those years that we don't even have a name for? A lot of times it's called school age. Sometimes people will say school age children, which refers to like maybe K through 5. But really, in psychological literature, we have a stage. There is a stage, and it's called middle childhood, and it's 6 to 12. And a lot of times it's kind of what we call maybe more 8 to 12, the tween years. And actually, this is where so much happens that sets a kid up for what their adolescence and even their young adulthood will look like. And so for me, I have been teaching this puberty class for years, for over 10 years. And I just stare at these 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. And I just think there's so much going on here. This is such an awkward time, but you're not yet in middle school. So people aren't yet saying like, oh, middle school, it's so awkward, right? So this is third grade. This is third, fourth, fifth, where we just see kids who have this opportunity to hear what their parents have to say about issues. That's one of the things the research says, that these times are really open for that young brain to actually take in, what does my mom or dad or caregiver think about drinking, think about
Right.
technology, these really big issues, eating, right? Eating patterns. What do they say? Do I need to finish all the food on my plate? Do I need to be skinnier? Do I need to dress the way they want me to? And all of these little things that are happening, because we see them, right? You get a third grader or
Yeah.
fourth grader, and all of a sudden they're like, I want to actually this year, I don't want to wear pink at all anymore. And I'm only wearing blue, right? Or a boy's like, I'm done wearing Nike sports shirts and I now want to wear jerseys, whatever. And they're, starting to sort of get into their autonomy. And I think that for the most part, parents really see their kids as being in school most of the time. They are then after school going to different activities. And so the amount of time a parent actually spends with their child is smaller during these ages.
Yeah.
But I also want to say they're really impactful. So I could obviously go on and on about this, but that's what makes me interested. And that's what really this part of the in-between years is really about.
Well, and Kate and I both have kids in this age range, and a lot of our listeners do as well. And what I find I hate to use the word scary, but a little scary is that, we say at Sage Haven a lot, keep them young. And so we want to keep them young, but they're trying to, kind of grow and at different paces at this stage. Some are, already wanting to be 16 and others are still, very young at heart. But it's just this time where I get nervous to bring up big issues or topics with them because I want to keep them young. I don't want to expose them to something too soon. But to your point, this is the time where they're actually listening to us. So it's a great time for those topics. So I think it's kind of an interesting, it's really challenging as a parent right now in that age.
I agree with you. And I'm really glad that you brought that up, because everything that I say, if it's not research-based, I'll say, oh, this is just based on my experience. In addition to the things you talked about, I've run a private practice in Denver for over 20 years, and it focuses just on kids and teens and families. And that's one of the things that I hear the most of is like, no, I don't want to talk to my kids about war or politics, or sometimes even where we're at with, polar ice caps melting and natural disasters and all of these long list of things that consume a lot of our media feeds and consume a lot of our stress, but we want to protect our kids. And I really understand that. And what I can say to you is that consistently, and I mean for decades, the research shows that if we talk to our kids about these things, they are less anxious and they are more likely to feel a sense of empowerment around what to do. Yeah. So for example, let's say I'll start with like a really hard one, school shootings. Right. Yeah. So nobody even wants to it's like, I don't even want to say the word. I don't want to think about it.
Right. And so, or get them scared. You don't want them to go to school scared. Like
you don't want them to go to school scared. Here's the thing. Here's how I want to set it up for you though. When they are in school, in a vast majority of schools in America, they already do lockdown drills. They already do active shooter drills. They already do. Now, every school may not call it an active shooter drill, but we have kids hiding in corners and pretending someone who may want to hurt them wants to come into the classroom. What do? They know. Turn the lights off, pull the shade down, be quiet and hide in a corner.
Right.
And so if the schools are doing it, and they have their own way of talking about it, and then we aren't talking about it, you have no idea what your kid is thinking. You cannot imagine how many kids sit and think once they get older, and especially once they start middle school, well, I sit next to this kid and they have a backpack and I don't know what's inside that backpack. Even though you're like, wait, but how do they really know about this? They already know these things in their own ways. So there are very age-appropriate ways. This isn't something that you have to get into great detail about, but I'm using purposely a very hard example, right? So a very hard example is, I think that schools should always alert families when they have any kind of drills so that we can talk to them, even fire drills, right? We should know about that. And so I heard you had you call it a drill. I heard you had a drill at school today. Oh yeah. They might act super flippant about it. Like, oh yeah, whatever. Oh yeah. What do you, sorry. And then you might want to say, what were you guys practicing for? And you just want to hear. That's the first step is don't tell them anything yet. First find out what is it that they know
Yeah.
And could they potentially want to know more? Oh, what was that for? And they could just say, oh, whatever they're going to say. It was for if something were to happen. They might even be super vague. If something were to happen, this is what the teacher says that we need to do to stay safe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And how did it feel to do that? And do you think that would keep you safe? Right? That's just an opening. You don't need to say a word. So just to role play out, that's a starting point. And then it's sort of like you slowly build from there, because the next time you ask them, they might say, so-and-so said that we do this because now now the data's there. And then we start talking a little bit more. But I always say to parents in this time frame, like, if you're not teaching your kids, somebody else is.
It's great advice, because I have a tendency, I like to talk, but I have a tendency to snowball and say too much. I'm not listening as much. So I kind of like, when I have a learning moment and I feel like I'm in that moment, then I'll take the time to just bop with like a million different learning lessons within the one. And then all of a sudden my son will look at me and go, how did we get here? And I'm like, I know, it's true. So I think what I'm learning today is I need to actually listen to them a little bit more and have them prompt it, and then bring in a little bit of the learning lesson. Do you agree? I mean, is it bad to kind of overload them with information because you want them the narrative to come from you? But it's probably negative.
I mean, listen, you're talking to your kid, you love your kids. There's something bad about that. However, we know that, just think about for us too, right? We don't love to be lectured. Nobody does. And we also, we can't be bombarded with information when it's new, because we need a little time to process. So a lot of times I like to call it like sprinkling. You're just sprinkling sometimes. And sometimes you're like, nope, wasn't a sprinkle. It's like a full-blown sundae we got in there. It's like, okay. And that's probably going to be in reaction to something happens. They hear a big story. You're probably not sprinkling in that moment. You're probably in it. But what we're talking about, I love what you said. That's really, I know people listening can relate, which is, first of all, some people are just talkers. But second of all, when we're nervous, we tend to overtalk. That's when we just start talking faster. And then it's like, oh my God, but let me tell you, you're totally fine. I mean, you're going to be safe. And right. We do this thing because we're nervous. And so it's always a good idea to take a deep breath and then just think to yourself, I know this kid, my kid, is probably going to digest this better if I just give them a little sprinkle of information, or I just ask 2 questions, maybe 3, no more than that, even though I really want to. Even if it's just for that moment, then you stop. If they really want to keep talking, they will. And if they're good with it, they're going to move on and be like, okay, what's for dinner?
What do you do if you have a kid that really doesn't give you a lot, right? Like, I have a boy and 2 girls, and my boy doesn't give me as much. He'll tell me about every aspect of the sports he played at recess, but I'm not getting a lot of anything else. What do you do in that situation to try to prompt it with him a little bit more?
Yeah, I'm laughing because, we, especially boys, but could be any kid. Some kids are really quiet, and I was just writing about it last night, so it's fresh in my mind what I was saying. But here's the thing. First, exactly what you just said, Anne. You always want to start when you have a kid that's quieter, but you're like, oh, they're quiet about all the things I want to talk about. But they're not quiet about their interests, right? They want to talk about sports. They want to talk about cars, whatever it is they want to talk about. So it's a great starting point, because it's like the warm up for them, right? So they're, oh yeah, how was practice? How was this at the recess? Who played soccer? Who played basketball? All the things that they're more open to talk about. And then that's when you decide when you're going to put your sprinkle in there. And then you're just like, oh yeah, cool. That sounds like so much fun. Did you guys also have a drill today? Right? And really your kid might say, no, I don't think so. I don't know. And now you're like, oh, I just lost them. They're totally disinterested. And that's okay. It lets you know that for that moment, it wasn't that significant to them. If you can just see it, if you're not sensing that they're just shut down, but they're just sort of like, oh, whatever, that's fine. You may not have to really go there. Oh yeah, we got an email today. Oh, the reason why I asked, oh, you don't remember? Oh, okay. Cause the reason why I asked is we got an email just saying you guys had a drill. And I was just wondering what that was like for you.
Yeah. And then do you try to bring it up later on then again, if he kind of shuts it down at that point?
I think if there's something there for you that says this might be worth going there again. You know, an invitation sometimes is declined the first time. Yeah, a follow-up is totally fine, but I wouldn't get too now I'm imagining we're talking about maybe a third grader, a second, third, fourth grader, young on the younger side of this. Because what you're doing as a parent is you're checking in essentially without saying, hey, so I'm checking in because, you know, that like whole tone and everything makes them feel like, what am I in trouble for? Well, what's happening? So, you know, I want to give everybody permission that we don't always know when the thing happens, or they found something out, or they looked at porn, or they, you know, heard about suicide for the first time. Like there are big things that happen at young ages. Statistically, we know. And so sometimes for some kids, it really might impact them. For others, they might be like, oh, I don't know. I heard them talking about something dumb, or I saw them all looking at some weird picture, but I just walked away.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to understand that your kid may or may not have been impacted in different ways. And your job is to sort of be like, hey, I'm attuned, I'm present, I'm here, but not investigative, because that's when they shut down.
Totally. Can you talk a little bit more about, like, I'm such a nerd, but I love to understand, like, what is going on in their brains and in their bodies? And we had a puberty expert on a couple months ago who sort of clued me into my daughter, who's 10's bigger reactions is very likely tied to new hormones happening in her body. And like, that actually gave me a little bit more empathy, and like, you know, because it starts to be like, okay, I want you to be kind, you know, anyways, I was just sort of going, okay, when I understand what's happening, and I think for their brain is still where I'm trying to understand what's happening and how can I empathize, and like, I don't know, can you talk a little bit about like the actual physiology of the in-between years?
Yes, I would love to, because I think there's two pieces of information that do exactly what you just said, which is create like understanding, right? Education and understanding leads to empathy. I can't empathize with something that I don't understand. And so here's what's happening in a very simplistic way. So first thing I want to say is puberty starts in the brain. Puberty starts in the brain. So that first breast bud you see, the first time your kid has a body odor, the first pubic hair that may exist somewhere, that means that at the very least, puberty's been happening for 6 months, 9 months, even a year.
Interesting. I've never heard that before. Okay.
Yes. So puberty starting in the brain means all these emotions, all the hormones that are happening, first shift emotions. Their reactions, their feelings about things. I don't like this color anymore. I don't want to play this sport anymore. My best friend of 4 years, don't like her anymore. And it's like, whoa.
The dramatic,
it's dramatic. You're like, where's, it's not the gradual, we're drifting apart. It's like, what do you mean? Like little
we're not
Katie,
friends anymore. I can't tell you how many. It's like, wait a second. This has been a friend for 5 years. Like you're not friends anymore. Like tell me.
Exactly. You know? And that's the way parents are like, what are you talking about? Everybody disagrees sometimes, but in their brain, what's happening is there's two major things to understand from a mental health psychological perspective, which is one is the limbic system. The limbic system is this emotional center of our brain. And so there is the amygdala, that's the fear center, right? And then there's the hippocampus, that's the memory center. And so what's happening is that is really going online first, and it's getting pumped up with these hormones. And so all of a sudden it becomes hyper aware. One line I like to say is they go from having a body, right? They're just like, woo, to noticing their body, to feeling changes in their body. Like, so that's why a kid goes from happy-go-lucky, running around the house 2 years ago, naked, half naked, doing whatever, silly, to all of a sudden covering up and close the door. Don't come in my room. I'm changing, right? All these things where you're like, whoa, okay. And so those things are happening because you have this limbic system, this emotional center that's saying, what do my friends think about things? Oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. Oh, I looked so stupid doing that. Or, oh, when my mom breathes, it just makes me angry. Like, I can't stand this. I hate chicken. And then you really hate chicken and I don't want to eat that anymore, right? So all of these things, and they seem irrational because you have this center of the brain that's just like, whoa. And so When that so you have this limbic system.
Boys and girls.
Boys
Something
and
that
girls.
just hit me is like, actually, my almost 8-year-old, I think, boy
Mm-hmm.
is starting to move there.
Mhm.
Yes. So let me give perspective too. What is considered normal? Okay. Normal for a girl would be 8 and up. So if an 8-year-old is showing signs of puberty within a girl, considered normal. For 9 years old is for a boy.
Okay.
Normal. Okay. So why I'm saying that is it's the early age of normal for sure, but it's still considered within the average. So for that perspective, so for your 8-year-old to all of a sudden moods are starting to shift, that makes sense.
Mhm.
It's going to set him up. He might be a little earlier that at 9 and 10, you're going to see some physical changes happening. He might be the first kid to, have the growth spurt in his class or to have the foot growth spurt in their class. So you have this emotional center that just like hitting the gas pedal and then the brake. We all need a brake. And the brake system is the prefrontal cortex. That's executive functioning and planning and decision making and the order of events. And that is, as we all know, not fully developed until you're around 26, even 27 for boys.
Yeah.
And it's under construction, but it's really slow. And
That's the
brain
impulse
develops
control,
from the
right?
back. What'd you say?
That's the impulse control.
That's impulse control. So it's back to front development in the brain. The limbic system is deep in the middle. So to get to the front where the brake says, oh yeah, it's really annoying, like just to hear your parent's voice in this moment. Well, when they're 14 or 15, there's enough of a break to be like, that's annoying me, but I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit here and be quiet. It still annoys me. The intensity's still there, but there's something in me that actually allows me to zip my mouth up or not yell at somebody. Maybe I might say something snarky, but when I'm 9, I might yell it. When I'm 15, I might think it, but I'm not going to say it.
Is there some evolutionary reason why we have this high limbic, high emotion, low impulse control? It seems kind of wild, actually.
I know. There is.
It's like
there is like a theory. I don't know if it's like hardcore we know this, but it actually makes a lot of sense. So the theory of why would this happen is because when we were hunter-gatherers, you needed to be able, like a child, what we consider a child now, right? But for them, a kid in puberty was like, go work.
Yeah, fair.
So you needed that child to leave the home, the homestead. They needed to go find peers who were around their age to go hunt and gather with. So the elders would stay back and tend to things there, but you needed the young ones. This is a theory that you needed them to go find sort of their tribe outside of the home to go be productive. And so that's why at this age of around puberty, they start to become so much less concerned about what you think and so much more concerned about their peers and that gravitational pull. So from an evolutionary perspective, I think it kind of makes sense. One theory is that that's what allowed them to go and continue to thrive. Because if they just stayed home and never wanted to leave you, how were you going to continue to hunt and gather and thrive? And
I guess that risk-taking behavior, you learn so much in risk-taking years.
Yes.
So good and bad.
What I would love to know is, and I think that in our research with Sage Haven, we're very close to this space of mental health. And so, and we're getting served so much content on it, on social media as parents. We're very aware of kids' statistics with mental health and how bad it's gotten because of social media and yada, 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 which we can get into. But how do you know the difference between big emotions and what's kind of quote unquote normal, right? Versus where your kids may be really starting to have an issue or a mental health issue, or you really need to do something or help them in a way that's not just like, okay, I'll give them space because they have a big emotion and I should just be aware of that. Like, where is the pivot there to or the symptoms or something that is shown that, the calibration there? What can you say there?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. So when we start puberty, right? When kids start puberty, a lot of times parents do start to see things that concern them. And that might be just that the emotions, it might be tears, it might be fits of rage. It might be this overreaction, shutting down. And so a lot of times we do get calls, the average age, definitely for our clinic. And I've seen this stat somewhere, but then it's disappeared and I can't find it again. But I can speak at least from my clinic and somewhere I read that 8 years old is the average age that kids enter into therapy. And again, I can speak for my clinic. That is true. 8 is our absolute average age. And so what happens is, first, you're going to notice a difference. Okay, fine. So maybe it's puberty and it's not a mental health issue. However, one of the things that we want to see when we're looking at any diagnosis, which the top ones would be depression, anxiety, ADHD in kids, one of the things that we're looking for is longevity of time, consistency. If your kid kind of flipped out about something at dinner last night, but then the next 5 days they're pretty steady, I'm watching, but I'm not necessarily responding to your call and saying, yes, let's get him into therapy. Because I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. Have you seen this? Is this a pattern? Does this happen outside of the home? Nope, it happened once, but it really scared us. It's never happened outside the home and it hasn't happened since. I'd say, let's pay attention. We don't need to rush to be concerned. However, if you say to me, it happened on day one and then it happened again 3 days later, then it happened with their grandparents, then the teacher gave me a call. So you're looking for a pattern. You're looking for it happening usually outside of one environment, so multiple environments. So that would be at home, at school, sports, somewhere else. And then you're also looking for their sense of what's going on with them, right? So we all naturally say something of like, hey, bud, you really got upset at dinner tonight. What was going on? And so sometimes a kid will say, I don't know. Like they'll just be really pretty, like scared almost and bewildered, like, I don't understand. And sometimes that happens with anxiety or big mood change. And you say to yourself, my kids seem really genuine. They didn't understand why they did that. Another kid who maybe I won't be as concerned about goes, it's just, my friends at school are making me really mad and math is getting really hard. You and dad are always telling me I got to clean things up. My little brother's always taking my things. And it's like, okay, that's life skills. I got to teach them life skills. I got to teach them patience. We got to work on communication. I can probably do that at home, right? That's the bucket of like, let me start at home. Like, and maybe I'll start reading a Substack and I'll read a parenting book or something. I'll find some info. I'll try to teach them. So that's to me, it's like they're able to list some things that are irritating them and bothering them, even if it's irrational, that's fine. Yeah. You can help with that. The other one who's just like, I kind of don't know. And I've been feeling these weird feelings and intrusive thoughts. Let me say one thing about that. Intrusive thoughts is something that happens around this age. So what that means is unwanted, unconscious thoughts that just come in. And it's very interesting because the research says that about 90% of kids report having intrusive thoughts. So I have people sometimes who ask me, is there something wrong? Because my kid says they get like what they call weird thoughts coming through their mind. So that's something good for parents to know. It's like, well, I want to know about them. And I want to know if you ever have an impulse to act on one of them. Right. But it's not necessarily a reason to be really frightened or that there's a mental health issue.
Unless there was like major pattern with it where it was staying around often, or you can report that pretty consistently.
Yeah. Or they have a sense that they'd want to act on an intrusive thought. So if they say, I had this weird thought the other day, I mean, I'll use not such a big one. Like, just, I had this weird thought the other day that I wanted to kick my brother and I don't know where that came from. And then if I were to talk to them and I'd say, okay, well, have you ever acted at all on it? And if they were like, yeah, kind of, like I didn't kick him, but I kind of pushed him, I shoved him. All right. That's the beginnings of like, I'm acting on these things and there's no cause. Yeah. So that would get my attention.
So one thing, and this is not my opinion, I've just heard people saying too, that when the kids are starting to show signs of something, right? They don't know what it is. They're afraid to have a quick diagnosis. They almost think people are automatically ADHD and they're really not, but they're quick to get diagnosed. What do you say there? Do you agree with that?
Oh, this is such a hard one because I'll take it from one perspective. From one perspective, we used to have so much stigma around mental health. We used to never talk about mental health. And so I really celebrate that, younger kids and teenagers, they've got language, they've got words, they've got TikTok helping them diagnose and self-diagnose. So on the one hand, we have this pretty destigmatized culture now around mental health, and mental health is health. And so I love that they're empowered in their own health journey. And on the other hand, just like physical health stuff, and we probably all do it too, right? We've got aches or pains or something, and we're like Googling it right away, and we're trying to figure
Right.
that out. And of course, what can that do? Well, on the other hand, what that can do is that can put a label onto ourselves or diagnose ourselves in ways that
Mm-hmm.
really are not appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, in terms of a professional, so that's the home part of it. In terms of professionals, I think, autism and ADHD, which are two, diagnoses that we see that just continue to increase and increase. I actually just think that more people are coming in. I really try to track this closely because especially ADHD, yeah, you have a kid who's hyperactive or bored or unfocused.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them instantaneously labeled and potentially medicated when they don't need to be. However, my professional experience with licensed professionals that are experienced is that we're not really overdiagnosing. We're just seeing more. People are bringing the kids in more and they meet criteria.
Well, and, I think if you're starting to see those signs like we talked about before, then the next step would be, yes, maybe you need to go see somebody. And I think some people might be fearful to go see somebody or have your kid go see somebody in those early years because of the what will come.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to your point, it's becoming more common in a great way. Therapy at 8, as you said, it's really quite beautiful because, people, not everyone believes that or maybe has that same thought. But I do love the fact that like we're identifying these issues. We're identifying that they happen earlier than we think. And then there's something to help your kids through it if it's past where you can do it at your home. So I think it's beautiful.
Well, in my lived experience, I have a son that has anxiety. And it was, we kind of saw it early, and then teachers started talking to us, and we kind of decided like, gosh, he's almost suffering. You know what I mean? Like, let's get him some help. Like, it came from just pure parental love to be like, we're going to get some professional help here. And my lived experience is him knowing he has anxiety and then learning better coping skills and knowing, his dad has anxiety. And this is just, for him, it has been a godsend. Like, it has relieved suffering and feelings and been a gift, And I just think like, I just want parents to go to like, what would be good for the kid? Like, what is could you relieve some suffering here if you got the right help for this kid that doesn't know why they're acting a certain way? Or if you take them in and the doctor, if you have a great psychologist and they're saying, not yet, like, let's keep an eye on it, also great calibration. So I don't know. I just think the fear from parents stopping at least the next step to go see is more about the parent than it is about like what would be actually good for the kid. Yeah.
It is. I'm really glad you said that because I get in some way this comes up almost every week, which is we, meaning us parents, are the ones that are way more scared of labels and diagnoses and talking about mental health issues than this generation.
Yeah.
I mean, Gen Z in particular, they have no problem being like, okay, and then my anxiety because of my anxiety or because of my depression, right? It's a very interesting, the World Cup just ended. And there were, I think out of the World Cup team that I know of, or I think that I saw, at least like 5 players talked openly about their mental health journey, is the way they put it. And they're talking about anxiety and they're talking about depression. And those are the kinds of normalized conversations that all of a sudden we've gone from neurodiversity to being, something that's so different. And maybe, other kids don't understand, to being like, yeah, we celebrate neurodiversity. Like we've taken one term and first it was like, oh, they're neurodiverse. And now it's like, oh, let's celebrate that. How amazing. What does your brain learn like? And what does your brain think about that? So I think it's really, sometimes it's the parents getting more caught up or more accepting really than kids. My experience, especially, I will say, if you're listening and you have older kids, is when they're older in high school or going to college, they appreciate labels. They say, I wish I would have known that I had ADHD. I wish my parents would have let me try ADHD meds, because now that I'm old enough to get them for myself, I'm completely different person. I'm productive. I'm getting good grades. I'm doing all the things. And I didn't have that opportunity because my parents were totally anti, whatever, psychology, psychiatry. So there's a lot of ways to really look at this.
Well, we talk a lot about parent anxiety, and we kind of joke, which is not a joking matter, but I have anxiety for sure. And I'm learning as I get older the coping skills, right? But I'm still, it's a journey. It's a journey. But what I'm afraid of, and I know Anxious Generation blew up for a reason, is like, I don't want to pass down anxiety to my kids because of how I'm acting. Not because maybe they'll have it just because of genes and things, but like, I don't want to be the parent who has so much anxiety or worries about them so much that then I pass it to them to be afraid of life. But like, how would you like recommend we deal with that? Because, we all are dealing with our own things, and we always want to try to fix it for our kids and have our kids have a better experience.
Yeah.
So what advice
absolutely.
do you have there?
Yeah.
For everyone but me too. Just me.
Yeah. Asking for a friend. Asking for a friend.
Exactly.
Well, believe it or not, this is actually a pretty simple one. The first piece is to talk about it openly in your family. Hey kids, genetically, here's what runs in our family. Anxiety runs in our family. There's a high heritability rate. What doesn't mean you're definitely going to have it, but it means that probably under stress, you might lean more toward anxiety. Hey, in Kate's family, depression runs in their family. And so under stress, they might lean a little bit more depression. Like, first of all, that's again, just facts and normalized. And you say, so here's the things I want you to be on the lookout for. So for you, Anne, when I was a kid, before I understood really what anxiety was, here are the things that I used to do. I used to have tummy aches all the time. I used to go to the nurse's office a lot. I used to kind of be out like sick a lot. I would stay home. I didn't.
As her older sister, I'll add a few here. I used to have tantrums. I used to.
Exactly.
I know too much.
You know too many things, right?
Pipe down over there.
Yeah, exactly. Zip it.
So you just say, like, the old, like, when I was your age, or when I was around your age, or when I was a kid, these are the things that, like, for me, we did not understand were anxiety. This is just the way I acted. Then I became older and I started to realize X, Y, and Z. And then I finally got diagnosed. And then I was able to get these skills that are really, really helpful for me. So I'm telling you that, because this is part of your health history. Just the way I would tell you if we had breast cancer or we had diabetes in our family, it is my job as your parent to talk about our mental health history. And this is what it is. And this is what it looked like. And if you ever feel some of those things, first thing I want you to know is you can always tell me. They're not always going to mean you have anxiety. Because by the way, we all feel fear and anxiety every single day of our lives. That is a normal human experience.
Yeah.
People with anxiety just feel it a lot more and in different times. So like, I hope as I'm saying that to you all, it doesn't sound scary. You can say that to an 8, 9, and 10-year-old, and you can keep that conversation going.
I love that. It definitely helps for sure. And I think mine was brought on more. I really noticed it more in the parenting when I became a parent. It was brought on. But even as you're saying some of those suggestions, I can see that, it's really good to see, because I can see some of those in some of my kids to just go ahead and bring it up and kind of be there as like a relatable, like that happened to me too, or this is kind of what you do if this happens. So I'm getting a lot from that.
Yeah. Yeah. And let me say one thing about like more of an adult anxiety onset, which can happen with pregnancy, right? Some people can be like, I never had anxiety, then I became pregnant, or I had my first child, that happens as well. And I think that's a way of saying to your kids, hey, I may not have fully appreciated the way this looked in my childhood, but I really feel it a lot as a parent. Yeah. And I'm working on it. So yes, I get people asking me all the time, like, I don't want my kid, doing this or doing that. This is where it gets hard, especially in the teen years, because they are going to not just have the impulse to want to do high risk behaviors, they're going to do them. They're actually going to do them, right? Yesterday, my daughter came home and showed us a video of her cliff jumping. I didn't know she was doing that yesterday. She told me she was going on a hike, right? Yeah. And all of a sudden she shows us this video and I'm like, holy Lord. Right. So they're actually going to do high risk things. And so I think that's when you say, hey, here's the tricky part. about being your mom and acknowledging that I have some anxieties, like
Right.
you're going to do things that are high risk and that's going to freak me out. And I'm already maybe a little bit more overprotective, or I get scared and I try to hold you back from things. Like, let's work on this together. Cause isn't this almost funny? Like, like that's the way I am. That's my real personality. I try to find the humor in everything. Right. So it is almost funny. You have a teenager who wants to be high risk and you have a mom who's anxious and is a worrier. So like, how are we going to figure this out together?
Well, in the in-between version of this, yes, I think as teens, there's just a lot more autonomy, but like these middle childhood years are when the kid is starting to move away from parents towards friends, as you mentioned, and we're trying to give them more independence in the real world, more independent play, more, okay, leave my site and go do things. And I do sense this like real tension between anxious parents and wanting to keep them young and letting them have more independence in the real world, and just like the natural tension for this group. And I don't have the right answer, but I just see it in my friend group a ton, where there's just a lot of fear around this new level of independence. Is there any, like, I don't know, where do you fall on the kids need more independence and parents need to find ways to let that, are you purely in the more independent place?
Well, I'm definitely pro play and all the things, but I want to actually make that I want to distinguish the difference between like the tween mom versus the teen mom version of your own selves, right? So right now in these in-between years, the thing that I experience most from the parents that I'm working with is the grief and loss feeling. The like, they like pushed my hand away the other day, or like their friend came over and they like, threw the blanket off of us. We were cuddling on the couch and they were just like, and then they crawled into my bed in the middle of the night and cuddling with me. Like, I'm feeling this loss, and then they're back and they're there. And so that's what I think I have most experienced as a theme with parents, is more like, this is such a confusing time of push and pull. Whereas the teenage years can feel just a lot more push.
Yeah.
And so I think that during this tween time, am I pro? Yeah, I am. This is what I'm pro. I'm pro under you as parents understanding what the point of this developmental period is. And there's one main psychosocial point, which is competency. So 6 to 12, we call, it's Eric Erickson's stage of psychosocial development. And the point or the result of what you want around a 12 or 13-year-old is a sense of competency. What am I good at? So I want to ask each of your kids at 10, 11, and 12, hey guys, like, let me get to know you, blah, blah. And like, so what do you think you're good at? Tell me about that. And I want them with confidence to give me an answer. It doesn't matter what the answer is, by the way. They can feel like they are competent at math. They can feel like they are competent at mowing a lawn. They can feel like they're competent at making money. It doesn't matter. The point is that it's because that's what feeds into self-esteem.
Yeah.
And so when I get the 8-year-old call, right, in my practice, it's usually anxiety. But it's usually anxiety. When I get the 16-year-old call, that's usually, I don't know, they have this negative self-talk. They've got this low self-esteem. They're hanging around with different groups. They seem to be lost. And that's what I'm trying to say is these competency years, this is where this is formed. Who am I? Which is the teenage question, right? Before the who am I, it's what am I good at? What am I good at first? Then where are my people, right? If I feel at 12 and 13, I'm good at music. I like to listen to music. I like to make music. Then when I'm 13 and 14, looking for my people, I know where to look for them in theaters, in music classes, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I want clear as day parents to understand about these in-between years. It really does. One stage really does impact the next.
Yeah. I always give our parents props for this because we have three. We have an older sister as well, and we're all very different. But the older two are very accomplished. So as the third, for me coming up, I always gave them so much credit, and I feel like we always joke we have maybe too much confidence. It's like like maybe it's skewed a little too high. It's like, well, I don't know, but they did a really good job of identifying the strengths in each of us and telling us that, and even talking about our weaknesses in a good way. Like well, you may not be, the WNBA player that your sister is, but you have this over here, and I think it really helped guide us to appreciate who we are. And
They
I
didn't
love
just
that
tell
you
us
say
though, they
that.
made us believe it. There was
Exactly.
something magical in the buildup of then you started saying, gosh, I get along with everyone. I'm going to be so good at sales. Like I'm so good with people. Like you internalize that. And I'm like, it is such a fun time to parent, honestly, because it's like they are figuring out what they're good at. They are figuring out these beliefs about themselves. And I want to take it a little more towards tech here for the last bit of this podcast, because I have heard you speak so eloquently on tech for kids. And, our vantage point is a lot of, they really care about messaging their friends at this age because, like you said, like the friends do kind of go above the parents in terms, and we've heard so many kids go, I'd give up YouTube and video games, but I'm not giving up messaging. Like me talking to my friends is my most important thing. So it's like, we know the connection to real friends is so important in these years. And yet, I don't know, the too much tech seems like it's causing a lot of other issues. And it's like, gosh, speak to the balance in the tween years if you can, or like when you see issues arise in these years, the bullying, the addiction to tech, like how are you helping parents find the sweet spot in the sweet spot years?
Yeah, well, one of the things that's really interesting is where we're shifting. So it used to be like the American Academy of Pediatrics or the American Psychological Association was really giving out advice around, if they're 0 to 2, 0 screen time. If they are 2 to 5, 30 minutes. And there were these sort of time periods. We have shifted away from that. Starting last year, the guidelines really changed to say, this is not necessarily about the amount of time, the quantity of time there. This is about the quality. What are they doing on there? Because 20 minutes on a screen could be more harmful, in the big picture than 6 hours on a screen. It matters. What is it that they're doing? What are they looking at? Is it passive? Is it that high dopamine hit? Is it scrolling? Scrolling is very different than creating, right? FaceTiming is very different than snapping a bunch of people. So, YouTube is just a platform, just like everything else, really. TikTok is just a platform. It's what's on the platform. Well, maybe I go on TikTok and I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, I watched this amazing TikTok from, who knows, a cardiologist. And they were talking about the latest study on the heart. Well, that's probably not bad for me. What could be bad for me? All of a sudden I'm on there, and after 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I'm starting to get fed stuff about heart disease and heart attacks. And now I'm scared and I'm anxious and I'm, dissociating from around me. I'm not eating. I'm not sleeping well. Right. You see the difference. And so I really like that. It took time. I mean, I understand why we started off with time, because time is still an issue. I still think we probably don't want our kids on 6, 8, 10 hours a day. We don't want that. However, if a parent needs to wrap their mind around, like, what am I doing in these tween years? You want to help them curate their feeds. You want them to understand what an algorithm is. You want them to take breaks. I remember a while ago, it feels like so many years ago, probably wasn't that many, but I think it was over 5 years ago. I'm pretty sure it was Stanford came out with a study. And this is not going to sound like any news today, but it was then, where they said, what we're going to need to do for our kids' developing brains is we're going to need to pause. So at about minute 20, we need to have kids get off of these social media sites. Well, they were completely onto something. Clearly, we weren't able to do it because we do know there is an actual social media addictive component. However, when they were researching it early on, they knew it then, and that has stood the test of time. That dopamine hit during these ages that we're talking about rewires the brain. This morning, I just did a report.
And just to clarify, you're speaking of kind of the short format video in rapid succession kind of scrolling, right?
Yes, that is what I'm talking about. Compared to, yes.
A long format YouTube video or something.
Absolutely. But YouTube is tricky because the way that one video rolls into the other.
To the next.
Right? There's a setting. We can put it on there. And I advise people to do that. Kids will
it's still not great. We talk a lot about YouTube. We dislike it and pretty anti YouTube, although I understand, like now I have a kid in golf and he'll do a long format golf, 30-minute or something, and then we have it on the TV only so we can
We're
monitor
pro co-watching YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
We're pro
But
long format co-watching YouTube. YouTube's broken our trust a lot in terms of sneaking in shorts and, turn off autoplay and then it's like whack-a-mole over there.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I mean, and people will say to me, oh, well, there's YouTube Kids. Great place to start, but just don't rely. I would say at this point, we can't rely on any platform to parent and highly monitor our kids. You've got to be pretty engaged. And I like to say, if you as the parent or caregiver are not yet ready to invest the time to know, wait, what's autoplay? What's that setting? Wait, how do I do parental controls? Then your kid's not ready. If you're not ready, your kid's not ready, because it does take a lot of investment. And just because you invest time on day one, like I've talked about this openly, for me, it was for video games and my boys spending money on Fortnite and all those microtransactions that happen.
Yeah.
Like the truth is I didn't invest the time in the beginning. I learned a very hard lesson and we've gotten to a better place, but this is an ongoing conversation. This is not ever a one and done. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really, the one thing I want to say, I really want to point out, because this is very, very new research, literally last week, but the University of California at San Francisco just came out with a huge study, 11,000 teenagers they have been following for the last 5 years. And what they found was there's a sensitive age for boys, that's 14 and 15, where they are more likely to have first social media addiction. And they defined it. You have a hard time getting off. You're irritable when you have relapse, which means you go back, even though you committed to not. And so what they see is year after year, those kids are more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD. Their parents are reporting ADHD symptoms, and it doesn't happen the other way though. So if they already were diagnosed by the age of 12, which is when they started in the study, that effect wasn't there. That if they had more ADHD, they were more likely to be addicted. These are really interesting findings. I think social media and screens impact boys and girls in different ways. That would be helpful for parents to just understand on a high level. For girls, it hits their self-esteem. It's body image and it's comparison culture. And, for boys, it's just this compulsion. And part of the thought is that the way their brains are wired, they love dopamine hits and they're higher risk takers. And so they really get fed what it is their brain naturally craves through social media, just in different ways than girls.
Yeah. So for tweens and these in-between years, which is kind of our sweet spot and specialty, we definitely tell parents try to delay social media. Like phones, I think we feel a little more mixed on. Like if you can delay it, great. But we understand there's reasons for phones, and different families, especially, like have different
divorced
needs
households, etc. Yeah.
Or they're walking home from school, they need Google Maps or whatever. It's like there are reasons why a phone might make sense, but like lock it down. Like it doesn't need everything on that phone. It doesn't need social media, and be very careful with the internet. Is sort of like what we preach. But like, what is it gets harder, I realize, as middle school happens, and you want them more independent and you want them to learn these digital skills. And like, what have you seen in your practice around, are you pushing delay social media till high school, or are you teaching bits and moderation? And like, how are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I am big into the wait till 8th pledge. So I know that, the anxious generation, Jonathan Haidt, many other people, Surgeon General, talk about social media not till you're 16 and delay. I agree with that. Here's my balance around that. I'm in the trenches, so I see the challenges more. There's some things that are aspirational, and for some families, they are really committed, and I think that is tremendous. I have a 13-year-old going into 8th grade that does not have a phone and does not have social media yet. Is he the last one in his class? Yes. Is that causing some emotional tension in the house? Yes. And I also have an 18-year-old who tells me, I think you're making a mistake, which is really interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting, because of the social impacts, right? So I'm saying that story just because I'm in it and I am walking my talk, and there is a fine balance. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a big wait till 8th, and we're there. I said, we're there. It's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. And we're going to start 8th grade. And And then I'll be right there with everybody else managing things. But in addition to wait till 8th, I think that these things, if we back it up, the way that we are with our kids, probably with gaming and their iPads, will determine how the phone will eventually go. So I know the stats, right? The vast majority of households, kids own iPads. iPads are just big phones. So I think it starts with iPad use. I think it starts with group chats, right? The first sort of social aspect is probably going to be group chats. I think the way that we understand Roblox in particular is very important, because that is both gaming and social and very popular among young kids. And if you're a parent and you don't know that much about Roblox and you just look over, you're like, what's the problem here? My kid's like, it's so cute. They're in a little barber shop. They're in a little dog grooming station. It looks as innocent as can be. And so I'm really pro, like it's the same message. I'm really pro. There's a couple of things. Never charging, not even an iPad, never charging that iPad in your room, having screen-free zones, never letting them have it overnight. These are things we actually know make a huge difference. And I also think that, you know, even though we're leaning toward look at the quality, not the quantity, there still has to be a quantity. Like when you're actually raising kids, it doesn't matter. Like you could watch Little House on the Prairie, which is so great that it's back, but I probably don't want you doing that for 6 hours because you could binge it. Right. So I guess part of my message to younger, the in-between years is those kids are going to probably by and large have access to YouTube. They're going to be on games like Roblox. They're going to be on Minecraft. They may even be on Fortnite. And you have to understand how certain things work, the social aspect and the microtransactions and the autoplays. I think if you can get a hold of it there, set the tone there. Because then when you get the phone, it's like, hey, we've been doing this for 5 years, 6 years already. You know the deal. We don't put that in our room. We don't have that at the table when we eat dinner. You know, then
and there's still even a time boundary with like, okay, we don't use it here, and
just boundaries galore, right? We don't bring it to restaurants. We don't bring it to the dinner tables. And I know there's people listening right now and they're like, guilty. We have it at the dinner table. We bring it to restaurants. I just want you to know though, you have the greatest influence right now on your kid now. So show them our own parental use. I can't forget to say that. Our own use, we also know, and we've got new research on that one too, big research on that one, that sets the tone too. So many of us are working on our devices all day long. And so we have to model boundaries. When my kid wants to talk to me, I'm not looking at my phone and doing all the things. I have the skill to do it, but my normal stance is not to do that, is to say sometimes you're going to have to give me 10 minutes. I'm finishing up an email, right? I'm trying to show them I have a space to work. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to talk to you. You're going to have my full attention. We're going to be done. I'm going to go back to whatever I was doing. So I think there's like, we're a little bit, we, meaning parents, we're a little bit ambiguous ourselves. We're addicted ourselves. We have it, phones in bed. It's the first thing we look at. We're binging shows. We're doing all the same things. So I think we're at a reckoning and a real calling for kind of noticing our patterns, understanding how they're impacting our kids, and then changing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I love that. It's good to be aware. We always say we don't want to guilt anyone, and we are guilty of it. You know, I work remotely, which is a blessing because I can make all of the games. I can coach. I can do all these things, but I'm on my phone a lot in between some of these activities. So I like the standard of like, you know, just let them know your boundary. I've got 10 minutes left. I will come to you and address it. I like kind of setting those tones because that seems realistic and also it's like I can do that. And I also see the benefit that will show my kid instead of trying to squeeze it all in and feel overwhelmed or snap at them on accident because they interrupted something when I had a flow going at work. So that's good.
All right. Well, we probably need to wrap this up, but Dr. Sheryl, thank you so much for joining us, going deep on the in-between years. I know our audience will resonate with so much of what you said. Hell, Ann and I learned a lot. So
I could talk for another hour, but we won't do that. But maybe we'll try to have you back sometime.
Yeah, so, it was great.
Yeah.
Before we leave,
Is there any thing you'd like to say as far as where we'll put it in the show notes as where people can follow you, but kind of what's next for you? Anything to look out for?
Yeah, I think there's, I'm a kid inside, and I think people probably don't understand the magic that's happening there. I didn't understand until I started working there, but really what's next for me is continuing to grow the tween and teen parenting community there. We have almost 100,000 members, and our tween, and those are really those 3 to 8 year olds, and we've got baby now, but I'm really there to say, like, these tween and teen years, like, I'm going to be there with you. So I'm there live. We're doing workshops. We're creating content. I have support groups. So I think there's a talk about sort of modern parenting. I realize now there's a real community of parents who want to intentionally raise their kids by sort of science-backed research and experienced leadership, right? As opposed to, if you're on social media, there's a new parenting phrase of the week, right now it just changes all the time. And they're usually based in something, but it makes me laugh because it's catchy. I try not to do things that are catchy. I'm like really solidly based. If it's 5 years of research, I'll say it's 5 years. It's not that long, but it's 50 years. I'll say this has been consistent for 50 years. I think we know what we're talking about. So I'd say that's the most exciting thing happening. Lots of partnerships there, lots around media, and even partnering with other companies to say, okay, we know there's a problem, and here's how we need to help educate our parents so our parents can educate and just raise their kids with confidence. I think the confidence crisis that we're in is really significant right now. I don't blame parents. You're getting so much information from all these different angles. It's hard to know. So that's the most exciting thing for sure, is that partnership.
Well, good. Well, we'd love to keep talking to you, because I think what's relevant for us is a lot of parents who are now really activated, setting up parental controls, creating this learner's permit for group chat and messaging for their kids. And where we might be able to work together is then, something happens, they now see it, and now they're trying to build their skills to coach their kid through something tricky, or kind of the what next might be a really fun place to go deeper with y'all.
I would love that, especially group chats. I just did a Q&A on Friday, and the question was, what are you struggling the most with your kid right now with technology? And we had multiple people talking about group chats, all the things that happen within group chats. So absolutely. It's the new social click. It's just
totally. Well, and if we do delay social media together collectively, the messaging's still persistent because the connection's so important. So that's not going anywhere. And then giving parents the skills to coach their kid through different things and no calibrate. I always feel like the calibration is so important, to have an expert to kind of help you calibrate. Big deal, not a big deal, So anyways, we're so excited. We love your voice. We do feel like we can trust you. We love your background. So anyways, we'll put a bunch of stuff in the show notes. We'd love to keep the dialogue going here. And we're just really grateful for your time.
Great. Thank you, guys. It was so nice talking to you both.
Very fun. Thanks, Dr. Sheryl.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Okay, I love that. But now this podcast is truly the longest ever. So let's wrap it here.
Worth it.
Fast tech tip this week is our Sage Parents Guidebook has a really lovely rubric for content. Because a lot of what I hear is like, I want to be careful about what they watch, but like, what's good and what's bad? Like, how do I calibrate this? We talked to a ton of experts and put together types of content to be careful with. Either avoid it or limit it depending on the age of your kid. But this includes style and beauty content. You want to make sure at least they're not accessing that kind of stuff too young. Overconsumption content. So this could be like, I'm unboxing 100 things, or like just the luxury videos where I'm touring all these mansions, whatever it is. But just like, be careful with that kind of content. Gotta be careful with the vlog style content. A lot of it's like a day in the life, but a lot of those day in the lives are like so Instagram versus reality. And then the last two are pretty obvious, but like maybe worth repeating, but like violence and overly sexual stuff, you need to kind of still keep an eye out for that. So keep an eye on those categories as you think about how to hone your kids' consumption.
And we have the link in our show notes to the guidebook, so you can see the full rubric there.
Yeah. And there's some really good evidence on those, or research on those too. So that's not just like coming out of nowhere. All right. Let's get to obsessions. What do you got?
My obsession is a purchase that I made quite some time ago, but is still around and you can get it today.
Okay.
I posted a picture over the weekend of my obsession last week, which was my Vuori new set. That is the halter top and daily shorts. That is,
by the way, I did buy that. I cannot wait till it comes. I got it in the navy.
It's the best. And so I kind of did a weird story, but I wanted people to see, like, I'm obsessed with this outfit and this is what it looks like in the wild, right?
Yeah.
And
on a real body or whatever.
Real woman. I said that last time. This is no influencer. This is me.
Like how you got a smoker's voice there.
I was also wearing these pink Birkenstocks, but they're like the ones from Target. So it's the faux Birkenstock look, but pink.
Two-strap sandal.
And I got a lot of comments saying like, oh, I love your shoes too. I love your shoes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've had these forever. I didn't even think about putting these as an obsession because it's just something I've owned for a long time. So I got them at Target and they were $25. And I am still wearing them like 2 years
now,
later.
Are they cushy? Like, is it like a foam bottom or is it like a Birkenstock bottom?
It's like, well, I guess it's in between foam. So it's like Deer Foam is the brand, but they almost feel, I don't want to say plastic, but you know, the
like a harder
sole. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever that material is, which I don't know. It's like the harder sole as well as, but they're very comfortable. They're like a great water shoe. So around the pool, you can wear them anywhere, but it's like $25. They still are holding up wonderfully. I got the bright pink because I like a pop color. They have a lot of colors too if you're not a pink gal, but I love the hot pink.
Anne loves a hot pink. Well, anyways, it is a nice, like, especially if you're wearing a neutral outfit and then you pop it. It's
great. Well, and Birkenstocks are hot, man. I mean, why not get the faux?
Heard it here first. Okay, my obsession is a new game. I know, little to nerd alert, but
let's hear it.
You know how our family has the Wordle Nerdle family chat where we do the word. I know,
and I'm the only one out of it.
Yeah,
me and like my 4-year-old. Everyone else does it.
My kids are even in it, but we do the Wordle and then we share our score, and it's just kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new one that is, I think, equally fun. We'll see if it has that like longevity, but it's called Map Tap.
Okay.
And it is basically a free game. And like Wordle, there's once a day that everybody does the same one. That's kind of the key to these, like, share it and we all compare scores.
Mm-hmm.
But it gives you a city and you have to tap where it is on a globe. And you spin the globe and it's like, put a pin in Dublin, Ireland. And you kind of spin and you're like, is Ireland
I would be
here?
so bad at this.
Well,
maybe I need it.
You learn a lot.
Yeah.
I love it because I'm like kind of learning geography in a fun way.
Oh, I'm going to be terrible at this, but I love the idea of learning.
And then you share your score. So it's 5 cities. But what I love is it's kind of sassy. So like if you're bad, it's like, woof, don't give, it's like it kind of talks smack to you.
I'll be prepared for positive self-talk because that thing's going to come at me.
And it gives you an emoji. So you're really bad. It will give you the barf emoji. Anyways, I really like it. And our family's very into it now. And usually, our brother-in-law Ryan's pretty dang good. So he's winning a lot of them. But I don't care if I'm bad. Like, I'm just like, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. I might check that one out. That feels a little bit, like I said, Wordle to me felt a little like I had something I had to do in the morning.
A homework assignment.
It was, my husband does it. I love it. Sometimes he'll even pull me in to be like, what do you think? So I do like it. And I'm getting closer to being there, but that one sounds a little bit more.
Your husband's awfully good at geography too, I will say.
He is good. This is why I hope that the kids have his brain on that side. Like, I hope they get like.
Or you could just play Map Tap and learn these countries.
Sure. Yeah, I guess so.
I'm missing 1 or 2 badly each day because I'm like, I have no idea where.
I actually think it sounds fun. I might actually join this one. I could learn. I could use this skill.
I like something that takes like literally probably 2 minutes.
I also like, do they give you like scoring based on how far off you are? Like it'd be like,
yes.
Whoa, that's not even on the continent.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what. So I find it just like kind of funny to see what they say.
Yeah. All right. I love it.
So anyways, Map Tap and then share it with your group chat, either your girlfriends, your family, a couple people, but like the daily connection of doing a shared puzzle. There's something kind of nice there.
I like that.
Think about it. All right, we got to wrap this, but thanks for following along. like MapTap, share the Sage Sisters pod with your group chat. That's how we're growing, word of mouth. Who would like us? Think about it. Send it to them. All right. That's all I got. That's a wrap, baby. Love you, Tan. Lilas.